Welcome to the episode of AI Ranch. Today we're going to do something different. We will talk about the trends and topics that are happening right now. Today with me we have my good friends Ariel, the chief designer in our company, and Paul, the CTO in our company. We'll have different perspectives on these topics, not only my perspective. Please write in the chats and comments other topics you might be interested in, and we'll do our best to give light to that. So let's bring up the topic of AI agents. So the AI agents are, as you know, the large language models. On top of large language models, you could put in the RAG systems, where you put in your company's information. And then if you put in also some APIs or some external actions that you can do, you can fully automate the whole process of intellectual work, basically. And nowadays, everything is about AI agents. Like, just for example, the NVIDIA founder just recently in January saying that this will be multi-trillion-dollar opportunity on AI agents. And I had the opportunity to be in San Francisco in the autumn, where the Dreamforce conference happened, the biggest conference for Salesforce, right? And it was fully about AI agents. Like they just recently woken up to the AI agents, and even on the stage, the Mark Benioff with Jensen was talking about how Jensen predicted AI will be such an important topic 10 years before everybody else, and now Salesforce is doing this. So this seems to be very important, but like from the perspective of different sides, like for example from the technical perspective, from the business process perspective, do you think that AI agents will be as important as everybody is saying, or what's your opinion?
I mean, personally, last year I was, really thinking a lot about this, and we also tried some of these agents ourselves, and we started to implement some of those for customer service and other things. But then when you get to more complex tasks like marketing, automations and stuff like that, I think it suddenly becomes harder to implement, not because of the system itself, but because people haven't written down what they do. And agents work very systematically after some sort of guiding principles. Obviously, the idea is that they do it autonomously, but so many things, like you would hire a marketing person, let's say, and that person comes and you think, okay, make me an ad, right? And you instantly, in your head, know all the things that he should do without saying, but it's not written down. So I think that is one of the big issues why AI agent adoption is not huge, because people yet don't really know their processes that well. And so even if you give them a system, they still wouldn't be able to have value. And on that note, I think it's funny that last year also there's this sort of AI regret. Like a lot of business people would say, hey, I tried AI, it didn't work. It didn't do magic for me. And then, but if you look closer to that, you can see that they just threw one goal for the AI and thought that everything will happen. But if you would do that same for a person, you would have to have a very highly skilled, expensive person to do it in that way. So I think that's just a kind of backdrop of where we are right now with agents. And I think in 2025, this will probably change. People will start to really think how to adopt it better. But I think Paul actually had a good note about one of those cases about failure, right?
Not just about failure. One of the fields where a lot of AI agent research has gone into has been software development, probably partially because the people who are developing these agents are software developers and they want to make their own jobs easier. But there have already been multi-billion dollar startups that focuses on replacing AI engineers and code engineers as a whole. And at least in 2024, the technology wasn't there yet. And there were some spectacular flops where the demos were clearly made just for investors and when actual people started looking into that, they all were fabricated.
So yeah, this is what you're talking about. Was a AI agent platform called like the environment called Devin. So it was a 21 million dollar funded startup, and basically what they did was they did in their marketing campaign that it can fully automate Upwork work. You know, Upwork is the platform where you post in job offerings, right, for technical work, and then it automatically, and it showed basically videos like these where...
Hey, I'm Walden.
Sorry. Basically videos like these where it takes Upwork job and fully automates the output. And then the funny thing happened that afterwards, the person who submitted the Upwork showed up and said that actually the story was different than they showed in the marketing campaign, and then it fell all apart. But it was before the time. As you see, it's March 2024. Now we are at 2025, and we have actually really powerful tools, right? Like Cursor, right, and others.
Yeah, there's one of the emerging big things is Cursor AI code editor, which has already agentic mode and classical developer mode, where it just helps developers, or it tries to automatically solve problems. And it has raised, I think, $2.5 billion.
Billion?
Yes. No, not raised, but valued at $2.5 billion. So that's even more than this Devon. It costs less for using it, but it doesn't promise yet to replace fully the developers, just to aid them and make them faster.
Yeah, I think the people who have never seen this, how this works, definitely can show a little bit. The idea is here that it's not just an autocomplete. What you do, you have like this small block of where you write what you want the code to do, and you don't know how to program, actually, maybe in some cases. And the Cursor will just generate it for you, the code, like that. And basically you can imagine that seeing this is the future for text editors. Basically, I'm waiting when this will happen in Microsoft Word. I'm just like extremely surprised that these companies have not yet done this for email, for Word, and this is like a step towards AI agents. As you see, I am right now, like, the people are doing this intellectual seed of the input, but the AI agents promise is that you will just tell them what to do and it will do it fully.
I think that is actually the funny thing, like from my perspective, again, so I come from like a business design perspective, working with these products and stuff like that. And a lot of times we have to explain the product and use the design to kind of explain the idea and the functionality. And what I've seen is that many times people don't really understand what agents are really and how they would, work in their lives. And so first thing that comes to your mind is you ask, do this, and it will do that. But I think technically we're not there yet. I think like with RAG and all those things, you still have to have specific type of framework or a system that helps to understand things. Like, for instance, one of those cases would be this idea that every company has their own unique data sets, like let's say your unique recipe. And if you know that recipe, this will just be so important for you to create agents. But if you don't know it, if you're like every other company, there's no real automation because anyone can copy what you do. And so in my mind, when I think about this is that, let's say you start to build the agent and you have written down or some sort of materials or your data about your ways, how you do it, and then you feed that to the agent, and then you ask what you need to do. And then
so you see, again, for the listeners and viewers, so the difference here, so everybody is now familiar with large language models, ChatGPT, where you just have the prompt and the answer. Now, you've been living for a while now with RAG systems, retrieval augmented generation systems, where you have the prompt, your company's database, documentation, everything what you told about. And this is actually where you put it together with a large language model. You even don't need to train it. This is some also still misconception. People think you need to train it. You don't need to train it. And then you can automate, for example, like emails and document production. But as you rightly pointed out, when I'm talking with larger corporations, any companies, nobody have that information structured. Like everybody have really very fragmented information and not an orderly manner, and they think that AI will do magic.
I mean that AI do magic. That's the AI regret of 2024, I think.
That's kind of the thing that everyone has been saying all the time, that there is no silver bullet in business. There is no silver bullet in any field almost. But now that there is AI, somehow everyone treats AI as this silver bullet, and then are disappointed because it proves once again that there is no such thing.
I mean, one thing that I would ask you guys, you're from the technical side. You think, are there currently any limitations for that silver bullet? Like, or is it just in the head for people to understand that this isn't silver bullet? Will there be a point where
there are some things you kind of did not point out. So if you look here, this is the RAG. This is the automation of emails, automation of the chats. There should be some guardrails as well, right? There's these funny examples. Maybe I can pull it up later where they implemented this in GM.
RAG is retrieval augmented generation. The basic idea is that when AI model needs to answer something, it either pulls it out of its learning data set, which is what ChatGPT is doing, or in RAG case, there are some software frameworks surrounding the large language model that finds the needed information and gives more context to the model so it can answer more correctly with your company's data. With something like that.
Look at there. So here's an example from Chevy chatbot, which is RAG system. So they have trained it, quote unquote, on the information, but still you can game it, like you give objective and then ask it so that it could give you a deal how to buy a car for $1, right? Or there's lots of examples like that. And this happens when you have like just a raw RAG without any kind of control or limited control, and then the next step is we go to the AI agents. And here what's you missing here is the basically somewhere there is the database, right? But without database there's also tools, there's also reasoning, there's also all sorts of integrations. So this is even more complex, and I think we are even more far away from there because we have not yet even mastered this stage, and now we're talking about this one where there is lots of companies even don't have APIs for a lot of things. And
maybe a quick note on this middle framework, right? So if I understand correctly, and you guys, elaborate. Let's take the customer service agents as a case. There's a limited questions that you can answer. There's some frameworks. So the idea here would be that, okay, I want to automatize my customer service chatbot, my call center, all these things where I want to save money but also have a better customer service. If I understand correctly, so you have the large language model, and then next is database, which is what? Like the database is the unique ways how you will answer complicated questions?
The database is also something kind of misunderstood. If you build your own custom ChatGPT bot, you could just drop in PDF documents, Word documents, so on. These systems can work with unstructured data, but if you want to get the best results, the more input you give, the better result will be. So it means that it is not only the description of the process, it needs to be also the past information of the deals, for example, the past information of the finished process pipeline. So it is not only describe your business process very carefully, and then you will be able to automate.
Let's say if I would add a document about training materials of my, like I hire a real person, right,
Yeah.
for customer service. And in that, there is written how I should answer questions.
Yeah.
Be polite, don't answer this question, wait to this, and I give this to the model. Will it understand that?
You can make systems that can understand this, but still it will not be as good as the human. If you want to get closer to being as good as the human, as I say, that it is not enough. Documentation is not enough. You need actually the previous pipeline. Like, imagine if it's a customer service, then you would have all of the previous emails, all of the
talk with each other, right?
yeah, the more information you can get, the structured information that you can get, the better quality. There is one big difference from old days of AI. Like, if you talk about AI 15 years ago, everybody would say junk in, junk out. So nowadays it's junk in, about like 70-80% accuracy out in human percent. But 70-80% is not enough. Like, if your customer service responds correctly, 70% would not be very happy. You want to have 99%, you need to have a little bit cleaned up data. So that's one area. But Paul, regarding the technical side, like, what do you think? Like, can anyone implement AI agents with no-code platforms? Like, is it actually possible? You know, make com or something like that.
That would require to make some kind of platform that integrates with any possible API. And one way how that could be done, in my own opinion, is if there was an agent that, upon your request that you want to create this kind of agent, was able to code and integrate all the necessary data. Basically, one agent, or at the beginning, one developer or many developers who can create this framework for each customer's needs independently, because trying to create some universal solution is once again trying to create a silver bullet, and that doesn't work.
General artificial intelligence, basically.
Yes, and the O1 models and what was O3 models are saying that they are coming closer and closer to that, but at the end of it, they have the knowledge of the current data only. And if we want to something that works in our business context, they need to be able to integrate with all of our business data. And
yeah, but the also thing is make com, right? See, you can make these kind of AI agents. There's, first of all, it's not that simple. Like, if you don't describe, you need to actually put a lot of tags and things like that and integrations, but somebody needs to maintain it, make sure that if other party updates things, that it works, then it like you have the quality control, all of these things. This is basically more as a toy, as a real business case. For the real business cases, at least from my experience, what I see, what people use, they actually take something like Microsoft Copilot Studios and build custom AI agents inside the corporations themselves.
But listen,
Yeah.
I want to ask on for this year, 2025, right? What do you think is the things that have to happen technically and also, like, let's say, business-wise or in people's minds about this topic that they would either see value or get value? Because again, I like this word AI regret in 2024. I think a lot of people wanted to do this, and they go on to make com and they are like, oh, I don't really know what to do. And then they go to the IT department and talk to their IT people and say, yes, Copilot, let's implement it. And then again, a year later, nothing has happened. So I think what will happen this year? What do you think, Evalds?
I think I hope that the promises do not discourage some people, that because this is not like the previous kind of bubbles. Like, it is a little bit bubble, but it is still I think far away from the largest bubble that is possible to do. Like, if somebody remembers the history, there was like 2000s when there was the web bubble. Everybody thought that everything will be web tomorrow, and then it crashed, and then now everything is web. But still, I don't think we are at the absolute peak there, and I hope that the promise of fully automated AI agents do not get to the peak as too fast, because everybody is promising that this will be without any work, without anything, it will be just one click. It is not that simple, but if you use it in a kind of responsible manner, understand what are the technical limits, then this is a huge opportunity. I think
so,
you can.
So are you saying that? Sorry for the butt in. Like, are you saying that technically people still have to learn the limits and the way how it works?
Yeah, I think there is that's a good kind of framing that. It would be nice to help people understand the limits. If we go back to this simple diagram that basically the first thing to understand is let's make the just a RAG work perfectly. As soon as you're able to automate some processes with RAG perfectly, then you can move to agents, not just immediately jump in like a magic.
But a small question. Here you're saying that we need to go step by step, but nothing in the history has really gone step by step. We haven't perfected, for example, convolutional neural networks, which were the ones where image recognition and all of that stuff. They weren't perfected before we got to large language models. Why should now we go step by step, and how would that even work?
I'd say that there will be companies, there will be researchers, there will be pioneers that will go faster, which is great. It's just that there's always a little bit lag of stable kind of technological level on the fundamental level. So I think that now we're reaching very close to being stable on the language models, which is great, because as you see, I think it was let me try to find it. So somebody just put on Raspberry Pi model which is comparable to GPT 3.5, basically GPT 3.5, and this is kind of like incomprehensible basically. So setting up GPT 3, oh no, that's not API, but so basically the idea is that couple of years ago, like how many years ago, it was like GPT 3.5 when it was released, do you know?
Like it was, I don't remember, it was 2020 or 22.
No, it was not 2020.
Use Perplexity.
It was sooner, like yeah,
when was.
So let's look at that. So, but because imagine how little time it took. Actually,
actually 2022.
Yes, I know. 2022.
In spring, in March.
And how much it cost to train the model?
On the Raspberry, it probably was something like the Hugging Face's small LM models, which are specially built for edge devices, which they are promising to be really powerful, but small.
But I just saw that there were some guys who were publishing some articles where they just recently deployed.
Well, they say it's like 5 to 12 million for the training. $12
million for training, and it took us basically about 3 years, and now it's on Raspberry Pi. Those who don't know who Raspberry Pi is, basically that is a small computer, costs about like, I don't know, like $20.
Oh, now it's 100.
It's gone up.
Going up, but basically $100, something like that, and you just run their Phi 3.5 small language model, which is comparable to for example, GPT.
Also Mistral 7 billion, Llama 7 billion.
So you see how fast. So what I meant by that is that the first step of all language model integrations, they are starting to become kind of more stable and widespread. Now the RAG, and then some pioneers are now working with agents. We also are working a little bit with agents, but this is not yet, I think, the production ready.
You know, I just wanted to add on this that I think you made a really good image about this, because like even in my process, like let's say I work with copy, like text for, you know, my marketing materials, websites, products, or whatever. I use Claude, I use Gemini, and I use it to edit, to improve, to make, you know, specific style copy, and it's happens super fast. So I don't need to have a copywriter anymore. But I would say that is, let's say, an agent for my copy, and that's the LLMs. It's just my prompts. Like, it's not even an agent. It's almost like a tool. So I would say the first part, it's not really an agent. I need to know what I asked it. But this part, this is something more like you can trust that it can go by itself. This part I don't really understand yet, but I think probably not this year, right? This third level.
No, I think as Paul said, that it's not linear. Maybe somebody have a breakthrough of making it more stable. There are some interesting ways that, more technical ways, but basically you can even control the language model's output step by step. Like there are the structured outputs, there are these guidance techniques. And then what you can do with that is make sure that language model can speak with APIs, basically, and all sorts of things that normally programmer would make. So I think there is a work on that direction. But so the one takeaway from this discussion is, I think that any company nowadays must work on their data for automate, like basically for these process manuals, for the information on which the human employees work, and then at some point these process manuals and that data will be transferred to the AI agents. But we can do it step by step, I think.
One interesting analogy for these LLMs and how it's going is kind of like self-driving cars. Like the LLMs are just the car. It's a tool to get you from one place to another. Something like RAG is a smarter car that allows you to see more information, some extra warnings, some driver sleepiness sensors, and so on. And the agent is the full self-driving solution. And we know how long ago Tesla and other companies promised full self-driving, and how it's going. Yes, there are
actually
some
this is great thing. So if you didn't know, there is a guy named Andrej Karpathy who is basically who is one of the first who did he worked in OpenAI, he worked in Stanford, he worked in Tesla AI director, and he worked on self-driving cars. And recently, in one of the interviews, he said that AI agents are very similar to the self-driving cars, because it is very easy to make a demo. It is very hard to make a production ready. But the good news is that Tesla is actually quite close to production ready.
Just to not discourage, I think it's gonna happen. It is happening, and it's just a matter of time, right? Is it happening in 2025? That's the question.
That is a good question, and maybe the first ones will happen. But there's also the question about what are the expectations of these agents, because if you are ready to change something in your workflow to integrate them, it's probably much easier than Tesla did it, where Tesla didn't want to add the extra sensors to their cars and wanted to drive only on visuals, and that set them back. And so that will be also with companies that don't want to change anything in their workflows, but want to add the self-driving functionality.
Let's imagine step forward. So we reach, so we have these tools, and maybe we reach some point these AI agents in a future not far away. So the solo entrepreneurship, there's a lot of talk going about that there will be first person who will have 1 billion valuation company based on basically OpenAI API or ChatGPT based products, or like shell products, or some generative AI products. So do you think it's reasonable? It's something that we could see soon?
Personally, like I've read a little bit into that topic, and I've thought a lot about it, and I think it is a myth currently. It's a nice myth though, like you want to picture that idea. And you know, I've been targeted with these ads, like become an AI expert and whatever. And I think a lot of people have, and I've seen stuff like also scam ads, like for instance, for use this AI agent to mine crypto and it will do everything and you will get rich and whatever. And then you do just basic search on Grok, go through the latest 2 weeks of tweets, and you find that this is a scam and it's just been, milking the idea of agents. So for me, it's a myth right now, but I do think that there is something else. I think this idea of hyper-productive small teams, and I've heard this sometimes on LinkedIn, sometimes in some magazines or stuff, that this idea that a new technology company or small team, the scale up is not going to happen through adding more people, but adding better processes and agents. And so the idea would be that you can have a great, profitable, growing company with a small team of hyper-productive people. And I think that's...
I think it's all dependent on the agentic revolution and the agents actually being implemented, because single person, it's very hard to make a business, especially if you want to work with investors, especially if you want to grow the communication, not just do your thing and let it naturally grow. And in those cases, the agents would be what would help. At that point, it's questionable, are you counting those agents as a team members maybe? And then it's once again not a single team member's team, but it's single person's team.
I mean, I think, and I also probably know this idea that you don't have a business if you can make money while you sleep. You just work at your business. It's, I think, from E-Myth, right? From this book from 2000s, and this E-Myth was written before AI, but they got back to this idea about McDonald's and all these big chain stores and franchise stores, and the idea is that if you create an agent framework that does make you money while you sleep, I think it's a great business. But if you don't, then you might say you have nice agents around you, but basically you're part of your business. You don't have something that makes money while you sleep.
So but I think the solo entrepreneurship at the end might happen, because I think first of all the AI at our lifetimes will replace many professions. I think the one thing which is we can see in the future, in the past as well, that there has been many cases where previously there were people doing the job and now it's fully automated. And I think the profession as itself, as you have the description, the data of how to do something, like for example blog writing, right, or like accounting task or something, this can be at some point fully automated. But then the entrepreneurship, which is the business which is selling to another human being, even if it's a influencer or anything, this is something that is inherent to how humans behave with each other. So I think the entrepreneurship won't go away. The all sorts of professions might go away, and it might result into solo entrepreneurship. The one example which I often show is one of my good friends, Nauris, who is building the Blossom reads. So he is actually a computer programmer and a scientist, but he is not a designer of children's books, right? But he has a quite profitable now business where you can take a picture of your child, put some text of what is his interests, right? It generates physical book with the child's face inside there and sends you as a gift. And it's like the whole automatic pipeline there. So it makes money while he sleeps.
By the way, on that, I actually, this is a curveball for you all in some sense. Even if you would have agents, you would still have to manage it a little bit, like 1 hour per day or something. So, and if you make, let's say, $1 million, that means you have $1 million hour rate, right? I think that is also something that I think about just agents in per se, that if you start to build agents, you can start to look, is your hours that you put in your work decreasing, or you're putting them for other tasks? If not, then you don't have successful agents. because nothing has changed. You're just added another tool to your set, but it's not actually helping you. You're not adding value, and you're not, saving time.
There is one really interesting thing that when I talk about AI solutions with companies at the board level, with decision makers, they want to basically replace as many human hours with AI agents, right? AI systems. But as soon as the AI system meets the actual people who work with these problems, often they just don't change the process and add it as additional expense. This is something that I have seen many times. There are some companies who are willing to change processes, but it is inevitable. So basically, you definitely need to change process when you add AI tools so that you can save money and not generate expenses. That's from my experience.
One thing, returning to Ariel's point about having to still manage sometimes the agents, it's the same as with people. If there were a perfectly built agent, the question is about the trust. Do you trust your team? Do you trust your team people to manage the business? And the same, do you trust the AI to manage your business? And that's the biggest point. At which point will people also trust the AI? Because currently it's...
but then the question would be, what makes you trust your people?
That's a good question.
and for me, that answer is from E-Myth, which me and I also read years ago. In E-Myth, he said, basically, when you hire a person for McDonald's, he has to be the least skilled person to do this job because he can be replaceable. But to do that, the process, the description, how he has to cook the burger, the systems, the stoves, it has to be all figured out. It has to work. So then you can just put the least skilled person and he's able to do it, right? And I think that is the trust. You trust your system, you trust your written down processes. And it's a bit of ethical question as well. At which point, you trust the person, right? And I think this is the problem with a lot of businesses as well. And, I've seen this as well in my life, is that it's easier to trust the person because you don't understand the process. And you don't have time to figure out everything. So I trust Gregors, our media guy. He's gonna make great films because I don't have process. I think Gregors won't be changed to an agent very soon. So yeah.
But isn't that the point of agentic platforms, that they can figure the things out and they can create those processes themselves? So at that point, they are doing exactly what the person would do. So, at that point it becomes again trusting about...
That is the silver bullet idea.
You
just said if the platform itself can figure out the process, that's a silver bullet. And in my mind, basically, this kind of gets back to the question of AGI or whatever, because it's like you can ask, make me money, and it will figure out how to make it. And you don't even need to know how did he made it.
But you don't need to make... If you say a person, make me money, what will they do? They won't know what to do. So will AI system. The question is about it being able to write some processes and follow them. And that's one thing that computers are better than people at, following line by line of instructions.
I don't know about that.
Everything that programming is.
I'll pitch in my wife. Years ago, I said, hey, I think you should. She finished school. I said, I think you should work as well. And she was like, I don't know what to do. And so I think you should work. It's kind of hard to pay the bills by myself. And she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to do. And I couldn't tell her what to do. And suddenly she figured out what to do. She's done private lessons and do some other things. And suddenly she was making money. And I was like, I didn't do anything. I just asked her to do it.
Yeah, I recently read some exports where the financial analysts saying that AI now can do in a couple of minutes what previously a team of 6 had to do for weeks. And we're already seeing the Forbes and others saying that there is the AI revolution with lots of layoffs, 200,000 layoffs on Wall Street. Then there is layoffs on Meta. So should we have also some layoffs in our company?
In developers, I think. Yeah. You go first.
I don't think, I think the companies that are laying off right now are actually not fully capitalizing on the AI wave, because currently there, as we talked, is no AI that can nicely replace a human. What AIs can do is increase productivity. And if we have already hired very versatile people who are great at their jobs, why should we let them to other companies and try to just make others do their job? Or we can give them the AI tools and come up with new business ideas, new prospects to look at, because they have more time.
Yeah, from our experience, like I think recently we started using in lots of projects Cursor, right? We have the GitHub Copilot, we have all sorts of AI tools for our developers, for designers. For designers, do you have also AI tools?
Yeah, we do use tools. I would say, Adobe suite that they give, and also some other. For instance, image generation, right? For like quick scamping. But to be honest, I think there's an interesting part that a design process is often not well written down. And so I think it's almost like I don't think there will be like an agent designer. It will be more like if before you had 5 or 10 people team, like a creative director, art director, a senior designer, and then a couple of junior designers. Then you start to scale that back, because you don't need two illustrators and 2 animators if you can ask an agent to animate this. So I think it's in some weird way, some specialities will die away. For us as a team, what I've seen is actually something very unusual. I've seen that a lot of today's designers, junior designers, they lack skills, and they don't yet understand that they could have better skills if they would learn these AI tools and they would present them. And so basically it's very hard to hire someone new who doesn't have these skills.
I'll show you something. So the Mid-Journey. So this is kind of like the golden standard for the image generation. Now they even have the editor in web. Previously it was in Discord only. So it is kind of one of the best platforms. It was, and I'm using it to generate the coloring books for my kids. So you imagine how long it took me, and I even did not succeed to add in this picture where I have like some mini bus. First of all, my son wanted to have a mini bus, and the mini bus so basically should have been in somewhere in the city. I have the prompt here, so the into the shop in the city. And it was impossible for me to get out the trees. It was extremely difficult to get here the human sitting inside. And this is the golden standard. Basically, this is one of the best platforms. And and to do this in the best platform, and it's super hard. I can give you even more examples. So let me show. There's lots of my failed attempts. Actually, there is one way how I can do things, but
maybe the issues with the prompt.
Look at this. So yeah, this was medical situation. I had one consultation with medical professionals, and they wanted to have ulcer in gastric illustrations. It was like impossible to generate these things, and they looked ugly, and they didn't look as schematic. So I wanted to have as a schematic. So it was so difficult to do anything useful here. And basically, I'm just saying that if with the best tools, it is super hard. I think that if you go here...
But I'll add on that, by the way. If you ask an illustrator or a graphic designer to do this, you will have the same issue. No one graphic designer or illustrator can make what you imagine in your head right off the back. Most likely, so how does this look like in real world? You would have like portfolios. Like this guy does great 2D prints of whatever, stomach. And then you say, okay, so you're great at these type of illustrations, make me this illustration. So you narrowed it down. I think here you had 3D, you had 2D.
But even if I give examples, it doesn't work well. My point is this, so if you look at these beautiful pictures, right? By the way, funny, see this prompt, it's style, city, basically, and stylized. So basically it's nothing. So I mean, these examples are like cherry picking. Basically, the one kind of misconception which I see about AI is that people are showing amazing pictures like these or others, and these are like one of like 1,000 or 100 tries. Basically, that nice picture then is used as a like a reference that to see how great AI is. But actually, when you try to do it yourself, we are getting there, but we are not yet there for to make a high quality products.
Maybe the issue is with the Mid Journey. You said that it's the industry standard and the greatest, but I just threw it similar prompt, a bit different. Maybe the prompting is issue, but I just asked ChatGPT to generate image with DALL-E, and I immediately got a Volkswagen Mini one, partially disassembled in a shop, but I can easily tweak the prompt and get what I'm asking. It's sometimes about the tools that you are choosing to use, not what's possible actually.
Yeah, maybe, but yeah. So I know like. There are also these copyright things that you can...
To add on the original question or comment about trends of layoffs in AI, right? Okay, so in developers you might have layoffs, you might have it in designers or marketing. I think if you don't want to be laid off in 2025, the idea is that you have some sort of AI fluency, you start to learn some skills, but it could be prompting, I think, right? If you learn how to prompt better, right? At least you understand how it works.
We have a separate 2-hour video for prompting.
Exactly, so you can use that. But in specific fields, let's say you're a trader, like you like to trade cryptos, whatever. There are agent tools for that. If you're a designer, interestingly enough, I think you also always mentioned that the fact if you're a plumber or a construction worker, your job is not in danger, right?
Yeah. So these are great professions right now.
After this conversation, I think one profession really in danger is coloring book artists, because Evalds just showed us how to.
Yeah, coloring book like for the kids. That's great. Like also the bedtime stories, right? So definitely.
Okay,
great.
but book illustrations is here right now. Figma has already introduced the wireframing AI, where you can describe what wireframes you need and so on. So designers, I think, are next, not programmers.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Who will be next, programmers or designers?
I think that's a competition right now.
But there is something to it. Like I remember these older. Let me pull up something. Well, older these kind of like. The surveys before Gen AI, they were saying that artists, the therapists, the doctors, in this chart they don't have it, but basically the programmers and things like that, they are very hard to automate by AI. They're least likely to be taken by AI. But then after the AI, basically the office workers, legal workers, the computer scientists, the programmers, the document management, the sales, the computer mathematical, like all of these industries are the top impact of AI automation. And my perspective also is that the industries where you make the most money are the most interesting to automate, because it's not interesting to automate something where there is no money, basically.
But also on that note, I think this comes back to XAI, right? And I think Jensen said this in CES just recently. He said XAI really is about the digital industries or digital intelligence, right? And then he said, but Tesla is doing the physical intelligence, like robotics and cars. And I think the idea is that with LLMs and all what we're doing here, we're really attacking the digital intelligence in the sense that everything that's it can be written down or in cloud. For instance, financial services, let's say trading, like that is absolutely a massive amount of data. Again, I'm not a day trader or anything like that, but as far as I know, and I think Evalds also, I think there was a Flash Boys, that book, I remember, they talked about like in the 2000s, they put, or it was 2010s, they put the fiber cable in the Atlantic Ocean, remember? and they were just battling for milliseconds of who gets the fastest data. And so I think right now probably in financial sectors AI is already overused, but everything.
Let's look at another thing. So see in that chart the top part, the bottom part of the least impact for the AI. So by the way, this is Goldman Sachs. So this is the building, construction, cleaning, all of these like great jobs as a plumbers, right? So the Forbes, no, it's Time official best inventions of 2024. And they have even here in the header, and they have a huge segment about basically robots. Basically, what is happening and what I see is that combination with AI, with these technologies and robots, we will like. This is the next frontier. There will be like very expensive construction jobs, right? Which can be then start to be automated by robots. What do you think?
I think why not? The issue with the physical world is that adds another level of constraint that it's harder to teach the robots. It's harder to make sure they actually do the job right, and so on. But
have you seen figure robots? Ariel, have you seen those? So these guys, these are excellent. So I mean, I think they have the collaboration with BMW manufacturing, so that they have basically these robots working already with the humans in the manufacturing floor by being able to give commands, pick objects, show how to pick objects. So the things looks like that. Something basically you teach them using this augmented reality, and then they repeat these things, and they can adapt to the environment.
But I would argue that this is probably still like not 2025, at least for most companies. Maybe these super BMWs and companies that have massive budgets to invest. You remember the Tesla story, and Pauls, you remember that as well. Like Elon wanted to start with robotic arms all over the factory.
Yeah, there was this popular story that initially they wanted to make Tesla factory fully robotic, and then they struggled for I think a couple of years. Then Elon said that his favorite robot is the dumb robot who brings boxes and follows the line because it doesn't break and make the stupid thing.
That is a good point, and in general, the video you just showed also showed a humanoid robot just really slowly moving details, and that is a big problem, and I think that's a big reason why, at least in high capacity production lines, these kinds of robots won't be there. The line usually is just so streamlined that there's no need for something so smart and so AI to move the parts around.
I recently met these guys. So basically they are, I think, from Central Europe, Swiss or Hungary or Germany. Basically, they built this robot, which is security guard, and they already have basically contracts with security companies, harbors, ports. Basically it goes around and do the full perimeter security, checking if the doors are closed, everything, and they just directly replace human. So I don't think, like, of course, like immediately humanoid robots will replace everything, but the technology, the AI, the actual hardware is here, and I think like maybe a lot of people have not yet realizing that you can automate also physical work.
It's once again the question about trust. Do you trust your property, your business, to be guarded by a robot that someone could kick aside and move in, or do you trust a human?
The one pilot project which I know, they want robots because humans actually are not trustworthy.
And that's what my point is. Like, you have phone, and on your phone there are private pictures, and you put it on Instagram, social media. Like, you trust with your own private stuff on your phone. So I think like robots and businesses have also high trust level, but it's not like I think even if it's like 50% or whatever percent better than human, it will be still well. But I have a note.
But look at the self-driving cars once again. Self-driving cars are a lot for a long while now safer than human drivers.
Yes.
They make less issues, but once robot fails once, the laws, everything forbids it to
I
move
can
again.
give you a great example, so let me...
We always, yes, we forget
I think, yeah, I agree.
Human mistakes, but the robot mistakes are much bigger in the eyes of humans. So the same, one guard dog lets by some intruder. Everyone who owns this guard dog robot will kick it out and replace it with human.
So wait, look at this. So just when I visited San Francisco, and I actually drove with Waymo myself, basically, and maybe I can pull up a little bit later Waymo some videos. It is actually excellent self-driving car. The same Waymo and Tesla's full self-driving cars. They drew me through the America, even I didn't know the exact way how to drive to the address, and it worked. But there was this accident. So one woman was basically like the skull. I think that the jacket was stuck, and she was dragged with the self-driving car over the streets.
I mean, but that's the story. I think I told Pauls about the woman who was evacuated in California with a helicopter from a mountain with the stretcher, and because of the winds, the stretcher started to spin, and it spun so fast, and the helicopter couldn't do anything. So she spun for 15 minutes, and she sued the company as well. But she was like, I was better left on the hill, lost than in the spinner. That was a human error. It wasn't like a robot error. So you would still have this human errors.
I guess humans make errors all the time. So we have gotten used to it. I think this morning, saw a video where Tesla was waiting for humans to pass the street and made them basically a meat shield to stop the traffic so it could move, which seems like a smart move, but the internet was immediately full of human driver would have done it differently and so on. We are always comparing everything to us. And it's much bigger issue when AI system makes error that human wouldn't than when human mistakes are not made by AI systems.
I mean, that also, I guess, ties into one of those trends that we had on the list as well about the AI anxiety. I think in some sense, it's not a huge thing, but I think we all have seen like people around us, like, right, Evalds, that either don't believe in AI or they ignore it or they're overhyped. But then you would have these anxieties like, will I be laid off, or will the robots take over? And I think if the robots won't take over in 2025, most likely, I think the AI anxiety might have more impact this year than last year. What do you think?
I think the last year was the worst one because everyone had already gotten used to ChatGPT changing how universities work, how we work at our daily lives, and now many people are finally getting used to the idea that AI isn't going anywhere and will start using the Perplexity for searching instead of Google, using ChatGPT to help their copywriting tasks. Because we are starting to trust it, and trust decreases the anxiety in this case.
That's the word. Do we trust the robots, but we trust the digital systems? Maybe that's also the idea that when you have a physical system that has to have a higher trust than a digital system.
There's also a question about safety. There is a difference if this AI tool just generates pictures for our child to color or some designs that we can always redesign, or is it protecting something physical? Is it protecting us? And in those cases, the margin of acceptable error is a lot lower.
Yeah, I understand. I think it's a good point.
So to continue this topic, the AI Act, we are living in Europe. In America, they do things a little bit different way. They have like a wild west of AI. In Europe, we have the regulation, kind of like this barriers, and everything is under regulation. So the good news is that AI Act is not yet implemented into the law in most of the countries, and this is currently under discussion. But for those of you who don't know, that AI Act actually have these levels of unacceptable risk, high risk, limited risk, and minimal risk, and each of them have different things to comply. So unacceptable risk in EU, for people watching outside of EU, might be surprised that the unacceptable risk is even the facial recognition surveillance. So basically all of the home cameras for security.
Not exactly. It's mass surveillance.
I know this visual which I'm showing with this diagram, but I have studied the
You want to tell us that phones unlocking with facial recognition?
That is good point. We'll see what happens with Apple Face ID.
But I think that was what I have heard is that it's legacy. If you got before the act, you're saved. But like for instance, Threads, they couldn't get through in Europe. Threads are never arrived in Europe.
There's also big thing about consent and consent of usage. If you have trained on your face and you know that it will use your face to unlock it with all required checkboxes before it, then it's less an issue.
Wait a second. I have studied this for a while. We also have this AI association, so we kind of keep track on this very carefully. So the one couple of other things with prohibited use cases. So any systems which are subjective, manipulative, which are misleading, which are like scam systems, discriminating systems. Basically, you have very wide definition of everything which is prohibited. And I can imagine that if you implement it in the wrong way, then the companies could attack each other as well. So they could just say, okay, this system is subjective. What subjective means? Basically, it can mean anything. It can mean like your data set is somehow flawed, or so it is. In my opinion, like kind of very slippery slope. I really hope that we will not go in direction where basically almost any system is subject to being prohibited, right?
I hope that. I hope the same, that systems won't be prohibited, but I do think that this regulation is a good starting. The issue is it was drafted, I think, before this big AI bubble. We are talking about this regulation for many years now. And it probably needs to be updated before implementing it.
This is a good point what you're saying. So they indeed started the AI Act before ChatGPT and generative AI, but then they added these things. And the funny thing is, very carefully. So there is the next level, high risk solutions. The high risk solutions, basically from the company's perspective, what they need to do is to register in EU database, have very detailed documentation, and have the user consent. But the high-risk solutions are basically all of the solutions, like in the education, in the employment, in the healthcare.
But why do they do that?
So I think that they think that AI solutions in business processes might lead to some kind of practices where people are discriminated by some reason or manipulated or things like that.
We need to always remember that Europe focuses on its residents, while America and rest of the world more focuses on the businesses that bring in the money. And that's why Europe is giving these hard limits.
But listen, this is what we had in the office once, discussion about Threads. Remember when Threads was announced, they said we cannot come to Europe, and Apple Intelligence, we cannot come to Europe, right, because of all these regulations. And the funny thing is, like, you would say, oh, look, Threads, it's taking all my information, applying AI to, you know, sell me stuff and everything possible. So, oh, so we are saved with the EU. They protect us.
But Threads are in EU. Apple Intelligence, if not yet, then will be
they are
in
coming.
EU.
Yeah, the Apple
Exactly.
Intelligence say
I
that,
read yesterday. I got Apple update with which introduced Apple Intelligence.
I mean, that's good. So they have figured out how to get through. But I remember that
the
was
Apple Intelligence on the computer.
At least the update said it. I haven't used it because
I know, but it's still not on the phone.
Yeah,
and,
but my
sure.
point was a bit different. Is that that was last year, so maybe something has happened. But at that point, we talked about this, and there was this balance between, are we protecting ourselves or are we limiting ourselves? Because if you live in America, you are responsible of your own choices. But here in Europe, someone else says what you have to choose. And my problem with this is, okay, so we don't have GMOs, we don't have bad food, right? That's good. But when it goes to digital or intelligence level, an AI that will say what you can listen to, what you should think of, like, you know, in UK, right? They try to censor X just because the prime minister didn't like Elon.
But are you really affecting where your information goes in America? Are you? Or if there is street cameras with facial recognition all over the place and your information is collected, there's no consent from you. There's nothing. Okay, there is a point to say about if you haven't done anything wrong, then why would you worry about surveillance? But then again, you are a person who doesn't use social media a lot and so on, and deleted WhatsApp when Facebook changed the
But I do have
service.
it. But I'll put it in this way. This goes bigger, like a discussion than just AI, I guess, is that in America you have the law, right? And so even our lawyers who work with AI and stuff, they say American law is completely different than European law. Because in America you have a precedent and the person is being protected and you can play with the laws but in Europe it seems it's opposite. It's sort of like the laws are there to protect us, but if something happens you cannot really argue with that because the laws were already implemented. So it's sort of like you trust the system, but you don't have a chance to fight about your own rights.
I'm not educated enough in legal systems, neither Europe's nor America's, but I would think that if you think that something has been done wrong, you can go up the chain and find someone who will listen to you. And there are those cases where the city of Riga has been sued for having potholes and so on by individual people that cared enough. The question is about wanting to fight against.
So the data also shows that the kind of Europe's growth in the venture-backed companies is like 10 times slower, and everything is much slower.
But there wasn't an EU data regulation in 13th or 14th year.
Yeah, no, but actually, if you look back, then I can even pull up more charts of this. That especially before that time, it was actually very different. So let me.
Yes, but then for me, at least, the question is what happened in 2014, 2015.
So I think the old Europe, like the regulations started to explode. I think just like last.
Or did Silicon Valley start producing iPhones and so on and bringing in money? And if that would have happened in Europe,
there's not just one reason why this is happening, but I think we all agree that regulations in Europe has gone a little bit too much. For example, what you said about the Gen AI, this is a bit funny because as soon as they started to build this framework before Gen AI and ChatGPT, and then they added chatbots and even deep fakes and all of these generated solutions as a limited risk solutions, which actually are, I think, much more impactful than the high risk solutions.
And but the question is what has to be done. In this graphic you're showing the limited risk solutions that are chatbots, deepfakes, emotion recognition. what's written to be done about it is just to add transparency, add
the
information that
transparency is
I am a chatbot.
Yeah, they need to have user consent, another checkbox that this is generated by AI.
But
That's normal. And Ariels was complaining the other day about Pinterest, where he draws inspiration for design work and so on, which is flooded with AI content, and there's no checkbox to filter out AI content. That's something
good.
that this image generation is causing a risk.
So I'll put it in a different way for me, myself, is that I think the AI regulations, there are two sides. One is the business side and one is the protection of rights, because always businesses, want to get more money from people and then they, hurt people or, give bad food or whatever. And here information can cause like issues and data. But the problem here is that right now in Europe we have so much over-regulation that businesses are afraid to implement this. And I think we've seen this many times when we talk to businesses. And I think in 2025 something has to change. I think what could happen is that in Germany they are doing the re-elections, and I think if something changes in terms of the EU governments, that they understand we're lagging behind, maybe they'll start to shift so it loosens the chances for businesses to adopt AI, and that's the big issue.
If Germany takes a different stance,
or we need to make a precedent.
Let's wrap up on the positive note, as you say that basically it is not yet set in law. First of all, many countries right now are working to reduce this fear of this, and also try to make it so that it does not stop the innovation. We do it in Eastern Europe. We'll see, maybe we'll have a different direction in Germany as well after the elections. And so this is to keep an eye on, but it is not yet fully in power. I hope you enjoyed our first short discussion about AI trends. Please give us some ideas what you are interested in comments, and we'll figure out ourselves as well some new things that's happening in the field, and see you in the next one.